Hello, I'm Matthew Crawford, and this is my fresh from the theater vlog review for Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Man, I have a lot of pros and cons with this movie, and without giving any spoilers and just to sum up my quick feelings, I had a good experience watching this movie in the theater. It felt like a fun adventure, a epic Star Wars film, and I enjoyed it. In fact, I think I enjoyed it a little bit more than The Force Awakens, mainly for the fact that it felt like it was trying something a little different as far as its storytelling and the events that happened and where it went. Didn't feel like it was copying too much from the original trilogy, and I'd say I like The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi on pretty much the same level. They're not 100% perfect, but they are worthy sequels, I feel, to the original Star Wars trilogy, and they are definitely a lot better than the prequels. But these days, after having seen the Star Wars holiday special, I don't, and I am kind of joking a little when I say this, but after you see the Star Wars holiday special, it's a little hard to say the prequels are as awful as people have been saying they are for the past 18 years. I mean, yeah, they're still bad, but come on. But anyway, before I get off track, I thought The Force Awakens was a good start to a continuation, and I was really interested to see where this movie would pick up after the cliffhanger of the last film. And this movie starts off almost right away from the events of The Force Awakens. We start out with a fucking awesome space battle. The opening battle for The Last Jedi was kick-ass. It was thrilling. It had great action, great explosions, and most of the characters you see, they get killed. We only see them this one time, but it felt like a true battle, and it was a good start. And then after that, we cut to the planet that Luke is on, that the last film ended on, and from there, the film gets a little bumpy. Luke Skywalker, played once again by Mark Hamill, is now living kind of as a hermit, kind of where Yoda was in the Empire, and he just does not want anything to do with the Force Jedi training anymore after the disaster that was training Kylo Ren, Ben Solo, and Rey is persistent, and through enough pushing, she gets him to help her, and also through a little Force dreaming or intervention. If I'm a little fuzzy, I just saw it the one time, so forgive me if I get a few facts wrong. And we keep cutting back and forth between Rey and Luke on whatever planet he's on, and the space battle where the Resistance, I think, that's what they're called, is trying to flee from the First Order. I believe that's the villain's name. Hold on a sec. Yes, I got that right. Sorry, I really don't want to get too much wrong here. We keep cutting back and forth, and there's also a third kind of side plot going on with the Finn character, who is teamed up with a new character who's working with the Resistance named Rose to find a way to get the First Order off their ass And this movie jumps around a lot, and the Finn and Rose part seems like the most unnecessary side plot, and I'll get into it more in the spoilers, but that part of the film just really goes nowhere. And other than that, where non-spoiler stuff I can say is we get a lot more of the Poe character, who in the first film did not have a lot of screen time, and I felt like he didn't give us enough time to care enough about him when he was leading the big battle at the end of that movie. And here I'd say Poe he's my second least favorite character of this new trilogy. He just seems like a dumb asshole. Like, he has good intentions, but he's kind of fucking stupid in how he goes about doing things. And the Resistance, the good guys, they seem to have a huge fucking problem with working together, and we get that type of plot where the good guys can't get along and how they think they should fight the bad guys, and it almost becomes a battle of them against each other. And just, I really hate that kind of storyline. Just, it seems kind of unnecessary. Like, you're all on the same fucking side. Work together, god damn it. And but that's just one part that I don't like. But the scenes with Rey and Luke, I thought they were pretty good. There were some stressful moments, but I feel near the end it, for the most part, kind of paid off. And the Kylo Ren character, my best friend, after we saw the first movie separately, we talked about his character, and we thought he was a little too nerdy, and maybe we'll have called him just a pissy little fanboy. And this movie kind of acknowledges that, where we finally get to see the new Emperor, Supreme Leader Snoke, and who in the first film I thought didn't look that special, but here I thought Snoke was a worthy follow-up to Emperor Palpatine. He was just so evil and sadistic, just so it's hard to say. Just he was a great follow-up, and I loved his voice and his personality, just the way he looked. I thought he was excellent. And well, it's a bit of a jumbled mess. I thought the climax to the film was pretty cool, pretty emotional, and I am definitely curious to see how Episode 9 goes, like where they're going to take it from here. And a good way to summarize Star Wars: The Last Jedi would be, it is the Temple of Doom of the Star Wars universe. Pretty dark, but has a lot of comedy, and while it may seem a little uneven at times, it's mostly fun. Although I personally think Temple of Doom is a much better film than this. Like, this movie has a lot of problems, but I would say in the end I pretty much did like it. Just some of the story decisions were a little clunky, and there were a few characters who I absolutely fucking hated, who I could have done without. But overall, I thought it was a good watch, and it was a worthy addition, I feel, to the Star Wars franchise. Could have been done a little better, but I thought it was a worthy addition. I definitely feel like it wasn't a bad film, and I've been seeing a lot of mixed reviews to this movie. Some really love it, some like it, and some hate it. I guess I'm in the middle around the like it category. And that's pretty much all I can say without getting to spoilers, so without further ado, here we go. And if you don't want to have the movie spoiled for you, then don't watch further. And After you see it, come back and hear my thoughts. Okay. I should probably list the good things first. Mark Hamill, I thought he was excellent as Luke Skywalker, this much older, new version of Luke Skywalker who is extremely flawed, and there were a few moments where he seemed a little, I wouldn't say whiny, just like he is nothing like what he was in the first two films of the original trilogy. He's just, he seems broken, and he seems like he's given up, and we go through that whole, I've given up, I can't do this anymore, and yes you can, we need you type of arc. And while the writing for Luke in these scenes is a little cliche, I thought Mark Hamill carried it terrifically. Like, he carried it through. His acting here was spot on, and it felt like an older version of Luke. And he looks excellent with the beard and the shaggy hair. And Daisy Ridley as Rey, I thought she was even better here than The Force Awakens. In The Force Awakens, I thought she could be a little annoying here. She felt more human, and her struggles, her stress moments were a bit more relatable, more understandable, and the scenes of her and Luke together were very complex. And Luke has a lot of flaws in this movie, but they're good flaws, like intentional flaws, where they really push the character to a place where you weren't sure you could still love him, but in the end I think you could, and Luke admits to his faults. And this movie also does an interesting thing where Luke pretty much shits on the Jedi religion, pointing out its hypocrisy and failure, which almost feels like a stab at the prequels and how they made the Jedi as a whole look like a bunch of hypocritical, convoluted assholes, and that the whole mentality of that religion was just begging for something to go wrong. I thought it was pretty funny. The Finn character, Finn was my least favorite character in The Force Awakens, and here I feel the character improved a bit. He was still kind of a overly jittery character, but not as bad, and felt like they did a good job making him more, they toughed him up a little bit more. Unfortunately, his whole story arc is just a waste of screen time. Like, the Finn and Poe cannot get along with this new leader they have, because earlier in the film, after the big battle, the Resistance ship is struck by the First Order, and Leia is almost killed, and they get this new person in charge, Admiral, let's see, Holdo, Vice Admiral Holdo, played by Laura Dern, and wow, Laura Dern, she sucked in this movie. I don't fully blame her, because she can be a lot of fun, but she was just given nothing good to work with until her final 10 minutes of screen time. Until her final 10 minutes of screen time, I really fucking hated this character, and for a moment I thought, because the scenes where she goes against Poe, I thought Poe was an asshole, but she was an even bigger asshole. In a few moments I thought, what a fucking cunt. And then we see that she was kind of right in this plan that Poe just thought was stupid, and Poe's plan just turned out, as I said, to be a fucking waste of screen time. But the thing is, they're still assholes. you have a dumb asshole, and then you got a secret-keeping smart asshole. In the end, just, I found her character extremely unlikable, and Poe I just thought was... I mean, Han Solo was a hothead, but this guy, there's nothing charming about him. But Laura Dern, her final scene in this movie was possibly the most badass moment in the film, where she, like, the Resistance has to flee, and the First Order is shooting at the escape pods. So Dern, she takes the whole ship, she's the only one left, and she sacrifices herself by putting the ship into light speed and shooting it through the fucking Star Destroyer. Just, that was incredible. I love that so much. And there's this character named Rose she's a new character, and she works with Finn and Poe, mostly Finn, and they have a sort of romance that develops, and this type of character, the type of character that Rose is supposed to be, could have worked, and I don't know if this is how she was directed, or if this is just the actress in general. I really don't know her from anything else. Let's see. Kelly Marie Tran, just... This character was nothing but an overexcited, screaming, annoying shitstorm. She was just always excited, or she screams every line, she's laughing, and just... She's so excited and looks so Asian, you'd almost think she was from a third-rate anime. And I found the character so annoying that, I can't believe I'm saying this, I would have rather preferred they brought back Jar Jar Binks than keep this character around. I'm serious. This character is more annoying than Jar Jar Binks or any character from the fucking prequels. She was just... She made my fucking brain hurt. Felt like I was just gonna pop. I'm like, ugh! Just shut up! And the plan that they're doing was they were looking for somebody to deactivate. They had to travel to another planet to find someone who could break the code and, I guess, deactivate the First Order Star Destroyers so that they could not track the Resistance ship, which they apparently were able to do, and they come back and they try, and the plan fails, and the person they brought to break the code betrays them, and the Resistance has to flee their ship anyway, and it gets destroyed, and so yeah, just... I think the film could have been cut by 30 minutes if they had cut that whole part of the plot out. And Carrie Fisher as Princess Leia. It was nice to see her again. Carrie Fisher was an incredible part of this franchise, and I did a tribute video when she died, and I said it then, I'll say it again. When Carrie Fisher died, it felt like part of my childhood died. So, it was nice to see her, but she didn't get to do much here. Her presence brings a lot of good emotions, but for her final maybe she would have done more in episode 9, but it was a little sad to know this is her final role in a Star Wars film, and for most of the film she's out of commission after an attack, and she seems like a good leader, but Princess Leia, if she hadn't died, I'm pretty sure they would have given her a kick-ass way to go out, and what can I say? I just love her. Just wish she was still around. The reunion between Leia and Luke was very well done. Luke, we find out that he unintentionally played a part in Ben Solo becoming Kylo Ren, and some people I think are getting pissed about this, but Luke admits to whatever fault he played in it, and he owns up to it and feels guilty, and he does what he can to help to right the wrong, I guess, as best he can. And since we're in the spoiler section, I guess I can say it. Luke Skywalker dies in this movie, and like Han Solo's death in The Force Awakens, I thought they handled it very well. I personally think they could have kept him around a lot longer. Like, he didn't have to die here. But his death scene was shot and edited very well. It looked beautiful. I think they could have saved it for the next movie. I keep going back and forth about what I think they should have done, but I do think it was handled very well. And moving to Kylo Ren, surprisingly, Kylo Ren becomes one of the most interesting parts of The Last Jedi, one of the most complex parts. He killed Han Solo, so automatically I got beef with this motherfucker. But he's conflicted to a nth degree, and Kylo and Rey form some kind of force bond where they're able to see each other, and the relationship between Rey and Kylo Ren in The Last Jedi was one of the most fascinating parts of the film for me. I loved watching the scenes where they interacted, and I really want to know where it goes. And there are people speculating, who have been speculating since The Force Awakens, that Rey has to be related to the Skywalkers somehow, because that's how this goddamn universe works, but I'm really hoping they don't go that route. I mean, yeah, there's one more film left, so it might, but I really hope they don't go that predictable route, and I'm really curious why they have this connection. Is it just because they have the Force? Are they, even though I don't want to go that route, somehow related? Is this relationship heading in a possibly romantic direction? I don't know. The possibilities are endless. It's all left on an ambiguous note, and I really want to know where it heads. And Kylo Ren, he is scolded in his second or third scene of the movie by Snoke, who says, "I thought you could be the ultimate Sith, I guess, but you're just an angry or just a child in a mask," which I thought was funny because it's kind of what a lot of people were calling the character after The Force Awakens. This movie has that kind of feel like where it's addressing some of the criticism, and I thought those moments were handled very well. And the scene where Kylo Ren kills Emperor Snoke was Supreme Leader. I get him mixed up. But the scene where he kills Snoke, it was gripping. You kind of could see it going that route, but it was still suspenseful. And while he does seem a bit whiny at times, I feel like Kylo Ren has a lot of good potential, and they keep making him more complex, showing his good side just begging to come out. And the scene where him and Rey fight together was amazing. I don't know what else to say. I like the scenes between these two characters. And Chewbacca, C-3PO, and R2-D2, they don't have a ton to do in this film. They're just there, but they're part of the family, so it's great to see them. And there are these little creatures that people have been going fucking ape about, called porgs, I think. Little furry gerbil creatures, and they're pretty much the Ewoks of the new trilogy, and they're cute enough. They don't get on my nerves. I don't love them. They're just there. They're not the Ewoks, but I guess they probably appeal to the little kids and sell fucking toys. And what else do I have to say about this movie? I thought the direction by Rian Johnson, I think that's how you pronounce his name, was good. The writing was good in some parts, but as I said, was all over the place and a bit of a mismatch, big mix match. And the acting was good from about 2/3 of the cast, and some of the bad performances could be chalked up to the writing. It's hard to say. The ending, I thought, could have been epic, but they added one more scene after this epic shot of all the main characters, cut to these little kids who appear to be child slaves, and it ends on a shot of a kid looking up into the sky, and it just seemed a little too cheesy for me. But I guess that's just kind of a nitpick. There are only 3 more things I want to quickly mention. Benicio del Toro has a small supporting role as the code breaker that Finn and Rose get, who turns out to be a backstabbing, all for himself kind of guy, but even after he betrays them, I fucking loved him, and it's a good character, but I hope this is not the last we see of him. Very cool. Does whatever he needs to do to survive, and not really big enough to be an anti-hero, but that's the kind of character I like. And we got the return of Yoda. Frank Oz came back, and the scene with Yoda starts out a little questionable, where it almost feels like it's going to be bad, but as it goes on, it turns to good, then to fucking great. And I can't tell how much of this Yoda was CGI and how much was practical. It almost feels like maybe a bit of both, or maybe they use really good CGI to take practical work to look like practical work, maybe copied it. I can't tell, but it looks pretty cool. It was just something that felt real about it. And the interaction between Yoda and Luke was very sweet. Last thing I'll say is we've had almost all the main characters from the original trilogy come back, which makes me ask, where the fuck is Lando? He better be in episode 9. Well, that's my fresh from the theater vlog review of Star Wars Episode VIII, The Last Jedi, and I thought it was fun. I liked it. It's not great, but it's not too bad either. There's pros and cons, and it's hard to say which pros outweigh which cons, but if I had to give this movie a rating on the 5-star scale, I would give it 3.5 out of 5, and on the 10-star scale, I would give it a 6.8. Might be a little too specific, but yeah, I'd say that. It's not a 7, but it's a bit above a 6, and I totally recommend this movie. It's there are parts that are gonna piss you off, but there are parts that are just gonna make you jump. Well, some of you. I'm pretty sure there are people that are gonna hate this movie. There are some that are gonna love it. This movie will not appeal to everybody, but parts of it appealed enough to me that I enjoyed it, and I'll end with this. Check it out, and if you feel comfortable on camera, maybe film yourself, but if you do not start off the review by going, Luke Skywalker dies. That's how one of the people I watched started their video, and yeah, that part got spoiled, but I didn't stick around to see them say how he died, so that part was able to remain a surprise for me.